Good evening, everyone. It is Monday. Oh, it is Monday, but it is January 17th. I got my date wrong. So let me just change that up real quick. Hey, I hope everybody is doing well out there in the world. Quick update. Our bill is on path. S2598 returns limited bankruptcy protections to federal student loans. Might sound like a mouthful and confusing, but it's not. Here's the reality. We will not see meaningful student loan cancellation from Joe Biden or probably any other president unless and until we get the threat of bankruptcy back on our side. So we're the oldest and largest and pretty much only true grassroots group fighting only and absolutely for student loan justice. We've learned the hard way over the years that the bad guys in Washington, D.C., the people running the lending scam, and it is a scam, they would love to foist a fake loan cancellation upon us in lieu of the constitutional right of bankruptcy. The founding fathers called for uniform bankruptcy laws in the Constitution, ahead of the power to declare war, ahead of the power to raise an army, ahead of the power to create a judiciary and coin currency. That's how important the founding fathers knew that bankruptcy rights were to keep a lending system fair and prevent it from cascading into tyranny. So student loans are the only type of loan to be uniquely stripped of this protection. And guys, I'm telling you, just as a practical matter, May 1st is coming. There is going to be a mass default on student loans. Fewer than half of all borrowers were paying before the pandemic. Far, 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 far fewer than half are going to resume paying after the pandemic. So we are, and you are probably in that non-payment group if you're like most people with student loans. So ask yourself this: would you rather face May 1st as we go forward fighting for loan cancellation? Would you rather face May 1st without the threat of bankruptcy returned to us, without the threat of bankruptcy in your back pocket? Or would you rather face May 1st as we go forward fighting for student loan cancellation with that constitutional right in your back pocket? Would you rather be naked, vulnerable, and afraid? Or would you rather actually finally have some effing power on your side? Yeah, guys, I'm here to tell you, bankruptcy is extremely important. In fact, it is a necessary precondition for getting loans canceled. So our bill, S2598, is doing well. I talked to our people in Washington, D.C. recently, and it's on track. But what we need to do is push Republican senators to co-sponsor the bill. There is a lot in this bill for a Republican to like. And we're a fiercely nonpartisan group, folks. But I have to tell you that historically, the Republicans have opposed us. For whatever reason, the Republicans in Washington, D.C. have engaged, probably contractually, in other words, have been paid by the student loan swamp. And they have fought against the return of bankruptcy. They currently fight against student loan cancellation. And that's just kind of the way it goes. But there's no good reason for that, because this is the worst big government, college enriching, and conservatives don't like the colleges, supposedly, lending scam in the history of our country. And there's no good reason for any conservative to be fighting for this system. Some would even say it's a socialistic arm of the colleges or something. So yeah, there's no true conservative can support this failed lending program. So we've got to convince Republican senators to co-sponsor the bill. This week, we are doing exactly that. We pushed 5 senators today. We're going to do 5 or 6 more tomorrow. All week long, we are going to be tweeting the living S out of Republican senators, and we need your help. We need you to not only call both of your senators this week, but we need you to help us on these daily actions. So if you go to, and the date is wrong here, I'm sorry about that, it's January 17th. If you go to studentloanjustice.org, you will see our daily actions. Please, if you want to get these loans gone, do Not only the most recent daily action, which is calling your senators and retweeting the stuff that I said, but frankly, I wish you would go back 2 months and do 2 months worth of our daily actions. They don't take long. It's probably 80% or 90% Twitter. It's like super easy. But do that. We need your help. These are your loans. This is your problem. And we are the only group fighting for the solution path that actually leads to widespread, perhaps total, student loan cancellation. It's not going to happen without bankruptcy, guys. I don't know why the other groups aren't fighting for it. Frankly, they need to rethink themselves. But whatever, we can't control that. We can only control this group, and I know what the truth is, and the truth is what I said. We will not get anything more than a fake up to $50,000 gimmick from Biden in the absence of bankruptcy. In the presence of the threat of bankruptcy, Joe Biden will have to very broadly, very widely cancel student loans, because there are 40 million people in the country who are distressed on their student loans. And in a typical year, fewer than 1 million people file for bankruptcy for any reason. So Joe Biden is not going to be the president that oversees the overwhelming of the bankruptcy courts to the point of seizure when bankruptcy protections are returned. No. He's not going to do that. I'm telling you guys, bankruptcy is just so important. Nobody wants to file. It's a terrible thing to have to do. But the founding fathers, as I said, knew it was so important. They called for it ahead of the power to declare war and raise an army in the Constitution. So tonight, 3 things I want to talk about. And by the way, if you have any questions or comments on Twitter or Facebook, throw them out. And if I can see them, I will gladly respond to them, which is not always a sure thing, but hopefully we can make this work. So tonight, okay, I got you on Facebook. Hopefully I should have you on Twitter. So tonight I want to talk about lies, fakes, and more lies. So our opposition is freaked out right now. They are losing their minds. The lending system's been turned off for 2 years now, and they would really like to get that lending system turned back on. And they really do not want bankruptcy protections returned to the loans. The loan cancellation that they're talking about is gimmicky and fake. They're freaked out, and they're coming at us with all guns blazing, which is exactly what we expected. Hey, I've got a couple comments here. Leslie Fishman, I'm no longer an advocate of higher education as a higher educator myself. Leslie, I appreciate your comments. I don't think there's anything wrong with college per se. What I think there is something extremely wrong with is the financing system that goes behind college. Leslie continues. She, I think, says, I'm not in a position to send my brood to school and barely got my eldest through it by paying semester by semester eating rice. I love rice. I eat rice all the time. So I hear you. I'm right there with you, Leslie. It shouldn't be that way. College back in the 70s was essentially free. I mean, compared to what we paid today. There's no good reason for the price of college to be so freaking high. And it is this predatory, viciously predatory lending system that is willing to lend tens, hundreds of thousands of people dollars to kids and their parents increasingly, that stands behind this hyperinflation. The federal government is more than happy to pile as much debt as they possibly can onto our backs, because in the absence of bankruptcy protections, in the absence of statutes of limitations, in the absence of other very important consumer protections, I'm going to let that ring. They've been given a license to steal. So believe it or not, the federal government even makes a profit on defaulted student loans. I kid you not. For every dollar the federal government pays out on default claims, it gets back more than $1 on the dollar. For a credit card account, for example, a credit card company is thrilled to get back 5 or 10 cents on the dollar on a defaulted loan. The federal government gets back more than $1 on the dollar for a defaulted student loan, federal student loan. So these are the sort of perverted, corrupted, heinously vicious and predatory lending dynamics that are happening behind the scenes. And this, again, is all enabled by the removal of, it's really a 1-2 punch. It's the removal of bankruptcy, the removal of statutes of limitations. So as I said, nobody wants to file for bankruptcy. It's a terrible thing to have to do, but we have got to have the right of bankruptcy back on our side. So our opposition lies, fakes, and more lies. So here's the current lie that just got re-sprung into the media by a guy named Adam Looney, a research fellow at the Brookings Institute, which supposedly is sort of a neutral entity. Adam and others are saying that canceling student loans will unduly benefit wealthy people. And he points to the fact that, I think I'm getting these pretty close, the 20% of highest earners own like 30% of the student loan debt. So slightly more than you would think. Here's the lie in that. Wealth isn't how much money you make a year. Wealth is how much your net worth is. And other data show very clearly that the 70% or something of student loan borrowers have a negative net worth. Now, here's the trick that Adam Looney from the Brookings Institute is playing. The highest earning student loan borrowers and the highest balance student loan borrowers are older people. Older. People over the age of 35 outnumber people the age under the age of 35 with student loan debt, and they owe like 250% more than the under 35s. People over 50 outnumber people under 25 with student loan debt, believe it or not. You heard that here first, by the way. And the debt of people over 50 is triple the debt of people under 25. Now, remember, these are people over 50 who borrowed money typically many years or even decades ago, and they didn't borrow very much at all compared to what the under 25 crowd is borrowing. So you can say that the highest earning borrowers own an outsized percentage of the debt, but all you're pointing to is a bunch of people who are over 35 or over 50 and who have been absolutely wrecked by these loans for years or decades, myself included, by the way. I'm over 50, believe it or not. I have a hard time believing it myself, but here we are. Older people, just as older people earn more money than younger people. They just do. Like they pick and choose, and they're a little more careful, and they don't show up at McDonald's and beg for a job. No. We're a little wiser and older than that. We just earn a little more money. Not me, obviously, but that's kind of how the world works. And so it is hugely misleading and intellectually dishonest of people like Adam Looney from the Brookings Institute to be pointing out this nonsense. And I could go on here. This guy, is it Adam Mooney or Adam Looney? I can never remember. I think it might be Adam Looney. Brookings. So it's hugely dishonest for this guy, Adam Looney. I said it right. To be making this claim. I will say Adam Looney came to Brookings from the Treasury Department, and we have seen over many years that there are some very sneaky, vicious, snaky people that come from the U.S. Treasury Department who have been fighting tooth and nail to keep this lending scam going. Shame on Adam Looney. I could maybe rattle off a few other names as well, but I'll save my breath for now. So yeah, that's the big lie that's being seeded in the media right now. They're doing everything they can to make the American public think that canceling student loans is going to benefit a bunch of wealthy people. And that's just absolutely false. Remember, 80% of all federal student loan borrowers were underwater on their loans before the pandemic. So I don't know too many wealthy people who are underwater on their student loans, meaning they're either not able to pay at all or they're paying, but their loan balances are going up. I don't think wealthy people really have that problem. And that was before the pandemic. It's probably closer to 90% today. So we're talking about a catastrophically failed lending system. And people like Adam Looney should have the intellectual honesty to recognize that fact and quit trying to beat this dead horse into life, because it is not going to happen. This lending system is absolutely failed. And again, shame on Adam Looney. So that's the lie. Here's the fake. The fake was that loan cancellation we saw Navient do last, what was it, Friday or Thursday? Total nonsense, ladies and gentlemen. You know, we have seen many lawsuits come and go over the years. And yeah, we've seen tranches of student loans canceled certainly over the past couple of years, but even going back many years in the past. So here's the current Navient $1.85 billion student loan cancellation. Here's the truth. And I'm not going to say too much more about this because it's an open and shut case. These loans are private student loans. Private student loans have statutes of limitations, which is the length of time past which you cannot legally pursue a borrower in court or otherwise for the debt. These loans were taken out around 2002 through, I think, 2012 or so. Most private student loans in most states, the statutes of limitations is between 5 and 7 years. And these loans were all 100% in default, which means that people stop paying on them at some point. So this $1.85 billion in student loans was almost, probably mostly, maybe totally past their statutes of limitations. This was uncollectible debt in the first place. It was garbage paper. Navient was never going to get any money out of these loans, hardly. And so, you know, I just get so pissed off when I see these headlines. This news, it goes viral. It's sucked all the air out of the room for the past 4 days. And it's nothing, ladies and gentlemen. It is nothing. And by the way, we're going to see a lot more of this. Every time Joe Biden cancels a small number of loans, we're going to see them trot it out. They're going to throw these nickels around like they are manhole covers. They are trying to juice as much positive publicity out of these tiny, tiny loan cancellations as they possibly can. You know, in Joe Biden's first year, he canceled, I want to say, something like $13 billion in student loans. Sounds like a lot until you consider that in an average year, the federal student loan portfolio grows by $100 billion a year in interest alone. That's not even talking about the $100 billion in new loans that are made every year. So, ladies and gentlemen, don't be distracted. And more than anything, don't be lulled into a false sense of comfort and complacency. Don't do that. That's what they want you to do. They want you to think that the people in Washington, D.C. are doing their job and everything's going to get better. And you can just sit there and do nothing and they'll take care of everything. That has never worked. In the nearly 17 years that we've been doing this, that has never, ever, ever worked. Don't buy this bullshit, ladies and gentlemen. Pardon my French. It's a fake. It's a fake, fake, fake. One more fake. Up to $50,000 loan cancellation is just fake on its face. You know, we support Elizabeth Warren. We support Bernie Sanders. We're all for, we're very happy that they were calling for student loan cancellation. But I have to say, Elizabeth Warren trotting out this up to $50,000 loan cancellation, guys, it's fake. It just is. Up to $50,000 could mean anything. That's a salesman's term. It can mean anything, and if the Department of Education has its way, it will mean almost nothing for almost everyone. That's the way the Department of Education rolls. That's the way they're rolling now. That's the way they have always rolled. The one thing the Department of Education does not want to or intend to do is actually cancel student loans. So Joe Biden may stand up tomorrow and say, okay, ladies and gentlemen, I've had a change of thoughts. I've been looking at my cratering poll numbers, and I'm going to cancel up to $50,000 in student loans. And the band will cheer, and the confetti will come down from the ceiling, and the balloons. And at the end of the day, you're not getting $50,000. You're getting like $9,000. And in the year that it took them to do that, they're going to add probably $10,000 onto your loan in interest or something. It'll be like that. That's what we can expect. Don't buy it, guys. It's fake. Fake. So there's a lie, there's a fake. What are we down to? Oh, we're down to more lies. And I could probably do an 8-hour marathon talking about all the lies that have been told over the years by the student loan swamp. But let me just finish with a sort of current and long-standing lie that we've been faced with. So this comes from Dr. Adam Levitin, Levitin, Adam Levitin, all one word, at Adam Levitin. You can find him on Twitter. So I got into a little thing. Adam is pushing for an income-driven repayment program, much like any of the income-driven repayment programs we have seen come and go, from ICR to IDR to pay to repay to IBR to public service loan forgiveness, on and on and on. We've seen that movie, and it's a bomb, Adam. In the absence of bankruptcy protections, 99.9% of all the people who have tried for any of these income-contingent, income-driven, income-based repayment programs have been disqualified out of the programs. In the absence of bankruptcy protections, the Department of Education and its contractors do everything to baffle, bullshit, and bamboozle, pardon my French, the borrowers, and ultimately disqualify them out of the loan repayment programs. And hopefully, if anybody out there tried for public service and you got knocked out, as 99% of everybody did until very recently, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So I get a little kerfuffle with Adam because we don't want to be tricked again. We will not be tricked again by another fake loan repayment gimmick. And Adam Levitin said, this is almost an exact quote. In fact, I think I can maybe, since I'm on Twitter, I can maybe find an exact quote. Adam Levitin said, bear with me. And by the way, this guy is a scholar at the American Bank. In fact, I think he may be a fellow or something at the American Bankruptcy Institute. So he wrote this article calling for an income-driven, income-based repayment program. He made absolutely zero mention of bankruptcy in the entire article. And so I got to talking with Adam, and Adam said that bankruptcy is not the right solution for student loans. And we had a long argument, and it wound up with him running away from the debate. But here's the quote that Adam said. I've got it in front of me now, that was particularly poignant. Adam said, federal student loans are easily the most consumer-friendly credit product in existence. Like, wow, that's almost like a PPP loan, right? Where they just give you free money. You don't even have to pay it back. But it's friendlier than that, Adam says. So let's think about that for a minute, folks. I jiggered up a quick matrix of consumer protections that exist for all loans. And let's look at this matrix. Bankruptcy rights. All loans have them, except federal student loans do not. Statutes of limitations. All loans that I'm aware of have those. Federal student loans, they do not. Truth in lending laws. All loans that, certainly all private loans that I'm aware of, have those laws that they have to abide by. Federal student loans, they're exempted. Fair debt collection laws. But for bankruptcy, even private student loans have all those things. Federal student loans do not. Fair debt collection laws, private student loans, all loans they fall under the Fair Debt Collection Practice Act. Federal student loans have those laws either off the table or greatly restricted, depending on who's trying to collect on the loan. State usury laws. Certainly all private loans that I'm aware of have those. Federal student loans are not covered by state usury laws. So how exactly, Adam Levitin, do you mean to say that federal student loans are easily the most consumer-friendly credit product in existence? How could you with a straight face even say that, Mr. Adam Levitin of Georgetown University? I don't get it. Can you please clarify? Now, in going around with Adam last week, the one thing he did say was that people are given loans who don't have good credit. So people, 18-year-old kids who either don't even have a credit score or maybe have poor credit, they can borrow tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars without having to prove their credit worthiness. So, and we've seen the results of that. We've seen in our group, perhaps you yourself have lived through that nightmare of being forced, compelled, otherwise coerced to borrow far more money than you had originally intended, and seeing that debt, because of the absence of bankruptcy, because the absence of consumer protections, double or triple or quadruple with penalties and fees and this sort of mafia-like draconian collection regime that I haven't even talked about yet tonight, and I won't. How is it a friendly thing to pile tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars of predatory, non-dischargeable debt onto the backs of vulnerable and naive 18-year-old kids and increasingly their parents? How is that friendly, Mr. Adam Levitin? Yeah, Adam and people like him, they run from people like me like we're the plague. They're like cockroaches when you turn the lights on. They scurry for cover into the darkness. That's been our observation since May 2006, or actually December 2005 and before. Yeah, we've been around for 17 years now, guys. I've been saying 16, but no, it's actually officially more than 17 years we've been around now. That's incredible. And for all those 17 years, people, defenders of the lending scam, have, like cockroaches, when the light is turned on, ran away from us when we tell the truth. And this is just one perfect example. So, ladies and gentlemen, I know I've gone a little bit long tonight, but let me just say, we've got this. This lending system is in its death throes. The loans will be canceled, but the step to getting those loans canceled, fortunately or unfortunately, lies in us getting our bankruptcy rights back first. So we've got to get this bill, S-2598, passed. And the quickest way to get that passed is to get a few more Republican senators on this bill. We have two already, John Cornyn and Josh Hawley, to their great credit. They are fighting for their people over the federal government. They are fighting the worst big government lending scam in U.S. history. And I might add, there's a provision in this bill, S-2598, which requires the colleges to reimburse the government when loans are discharged in bankruptcy. Not a huge amount, but it's enough to make them think twice before compelling their own students into massive debt for perhaps a, let's just say, not particularly useful degree. Now, I believe that a philosophy degree can be as valuable as any other degree. So we don't take a stand there. Whatever you studied in college, we're glad that you're here. We don't wag our fingers at people who got degrees in something that others might say don't have a value. I think a lot of education has a lot of value, whether it translates in dollars and cents or not. But Anyways, that's not our game. You will find no finger waggers in this group. And if you find a finger wagger in our group, you point them out to us so we can show them the exit. Finger wagging is a popular pastime against student loan borrowers, and there's no good reason for it. You know, the people on the right, people like increasingly Steve Bannon, other knee-jerk so-called conservatives, they make it a little cottage industry to portray all student loan borrowers as these sort of woke, liberal, elitists, etc. And I'm here to tell you guys, more than half of all student loan borrowers are either Republican or independent. We are a very accurate cross-section of this country. And are there a few woke liberals among us? Yeah, of course there are. We're a fair cross-section of this country. But they should not be trotted up to define us. And by the way, liberal elites, they don't get student loans. By definition, they're like trust fund kids or something. Mom and dad paid for their college. They don't have student loans. So that's probably one of our biggest challenges in going forward, is educating the masses and educating them so they do not become pawns and tools and useful idiots for this tyrannical, un-American, unconstitutional lending regime. So, okay, guys, I've gone way further tonight than I had originally intended. We've got a couple of more comments here. Diane Martin, how are you tonight? Diane says, my loans were out of Georgia, which is where I lived at the time. I racked up the loans. I'm living in another state now. However, all my loans are with Navient. Yeah, you need to, and we don't give advice, Diane, but you need to determine what the relevant state is. And only if these are private loans, by the way. If you have federal loans, then statutes of limitations are out the window. So, but speaking of Georgia, one quick point, you know, the state budget of Georgia is large. It's nearly $50 billion. That's a lot of money. The people of Georgia, however, owe $82 billion in mostly federal student loan debt. I mean, that is just it's a mind blower. I mean, that's incredible. It's the worst in the country that the people owe more than the entire state budget in mostly federal student loan debt in the state of Georgia is just out freaking rageous. And you people should be, you Georgians, you should be standing up and you should be demanding that Governor Kemp stand up and fight for you over the federal government and tell President Biden to cancel these loans and return bankruptcy to all the loans that he cannot cancel. Georgia is your well, used to be your state, Diane, but anybody out there with the sound of my voice, if you live in Georgia, you need to be calling on the governor right now to fight with us, not with the colleges and the federal government. And by the way, it's not just Georgia, it's other red states where student loan debt exceeds their state budgets. Texas, state budget of Texas is like $119 billion. The people of Texas owe like $141 billion in, again, mostly federal student loan debt. Florida, same thing. $120 billion is what the people of Florida owe. Their state budget is only $80 billion. So they owe, again, more than their entire fucking state budget in student loan debt. Pardon my French. So Texas, Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, Indiana, Alabama, South Dakota, Ohio, Missouri, all these red states, New Hampshire, all these states, I would say Michigan too, it's kind of a battleground state. All these states, the people of those states owe more than the entire state budget in student loan debt. If you live in any of those states, why are you not? I would maybe even go to my governor's office and freaking knock on the door and demand to know why your governor allowed your state to be conquered and enslaved by this big federal government lending scam. No red-blooded Republican should let that happen to his state. They ought to be ashamed of themselves, and they ought to be joining us Send this video or just take a snippet of it, what I've just said in the past 5 minutes. Send this video to Brian Kemp in Georgia, to Greg Abbott in Florida, to Bill Lee in Tennessee, to Kay Ivey in Alabama, to Kristi Neem in South Dakota, to Chris Sununu in New Hampshire. Come on, guys. This lending system is done. It needs to be taken to the bath and drowned in the tub. And the governors should be on our side. Doug Ducey, Arizona, they're getting close. Whoever the governor of Idaho is, these guys should be on our side. This is not a liberal issue. It is not a partisan issue. That's maybe the most important thing I'll say tonight. Although the very most important thing I already said, we are not going to see meaningful student loan cancellation in the current politics unless and until we get bankruptcy back. So the last thing that I will say for the rest of the night is finally a repeat of the plea to go to our website, do a month or 2 months worth of our daily actions, and call both of your senators this week and retweet all the stuff that I said. By the way, it would be helpful if you followed us on Twitter as well. Student loan JUS #1. So that will help. All right, ladies and gentlemen, happy Monday. We're getting closer. I know I sound angry all the time, but really I could not be happier with where we're at and where we're headed. But we need your help. Nothing good has ever happened when people sat there and did nothing. These are your loans. This is your problem. And we will be absolutely effed if you do nothing. So think about that. We need you, and you need us, and you need everyone to help. You have no idea how important you are. In the immortal words of fictional hero John Connor, that's really true, guys. I cannot tell you. So let's get this. Let's get this done. It's a new year. Make a slightly late New Year's resolution to help us. Make it a part-time job if you're not working right now, or at least make a commitment to spend at least maybe a half an hour a day doing our daily actions and other stuff according to your own talents, skills, wisdom, position, network, etc. We're not going to get there without you. And so come on, guys. So good luck. Godspeed, everybody. I'll be back on Wednesday. Ed will be back tomorrow. We're going to have hopefully a couple of really nice announcements this week with the media and other things. So stay tuned. It's getting fun. We need you. Let's fight this. Let's win it. Good luck. God bless. Godspeed, everybody. And please donate if you can a little bit. Studentloanjustice.org. Thanks.